Welcome to the Narcissist's Compartment store. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I'm often asked, H.G., how is it that the narcissist can behave in one particular way to one person and then behave in a different way to another person, barely in the beat of a heartbeat? How is it that they portray that particular picture to these people and then something else to somebody else? What's going on? Do they realize that they're doing it? I will explain this for you by virtue of how the narcissist operates. Basically, a compartment store. As you know from my work, I have categorized narcissists into a range running from lower lesser, the most basic rudimentary type of narcissist, all the way through up to and including me, the ultra. Within this range, there are differing attributes, but there are common attributes. For instance, all narcissists lack emotional empathy. All narcissists manipulate. Some narcissists are aware. Most narcissists are not. Some narcissists know what they're doing, but don't know the reasons that they're doing it. Few narcissists know exactly why they're doing what they're doing and the reasons why. Some narcissists don't even realize what they're doing and certainly don't recognize the reasons why they're doing it. There are similarities and differences, variations on a theme, if you will. Within this, there is the concept of compartmentalization. As you know from my work, the narcissist either consciously or usually unconsciously requires the prime aims: control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Those four things are at the beating heart of everything that they do. Our manipulations are designed to achieve them. Our sense of entitlement is designed to achieve them. Our lack of emotional empathy, our lack of accountability, our haughty behaviours, our magical thinking, and so on and so forth, are all there to enable us to gain the prime aims. Nothing else matters but the prime aims. Compartmentalization assists us in the achievement of the prime aims. We operate, if you will, second by second by second. In this second, we need to achieve the prime aims, and then in the next second, and then the next second, and then the next second. Sometimes there isn't a necessity to obtain a residual benefit. Sometimes there isn't a necessity to obtain character traits. Sometimes there isn't a necessity to even obtain fuel. But there is always the necessity of control. Either keeping the appliance that is on the radar under control, or nullifying any threat posed by that appliance to control and bringing them thus under control. And this obligation conferred by the prime aims appertaining to control is one whereby it is near constant, save when we're unconscious. And it applies to everybody that's on the radar at that particular moment. So at 9 a.m, if there are 4 people on the radar, all 4 must be brought and kept under control. The actions towards A mustn't derail control over B, C, and D. So, for example, let us take a mid-range type A narcissist who's at a dinner party. There is his wife and 8 guests. His wife wounds him. She threatens control. There are 9 dots, if you will, 9 appliances on the radar. The narcissism needs to bring her back under control and keep control over the other 8 non-intimate secondary sources. If, for example, the narcissism directed that narcissist to strike his wife, that may well bring her under control, but it would then threaten control over the other 8 appliances and damage the facade. And therefore, because of the operation of facade management, it causes the narcissist to lean into her, whisper something savage to her so only she can hear it, bringing her under control, and it doesn't derail the control of the other 8 appliances at the dinner party. And at that juncture, what the narcissism shows is a corrective devaluation towards the offending wife, whilst maintaining the appearance of being pleasant to everybody else. That is what the narcissism selects. And in that moment, the compartmentalization of the narcissist occurs to present something to the wife and something else at the same time to everybody else that's there. The compartmentalization occurs based upon each and every moment. And those compartments in the compartment store are only connected if the narcissism decrees that that is appropriate, so that we use something that has just happened to control now, or we use something that might occur in the future to control now. And that is what happens. The necessity of ensuring that we have that control, and if necessary, draw fuel, and if necessary, character traits, and if necessary, residual benefits. This means that from moment to moment, we operate with more faces than the town hall clock. We portray, driven by our narcissism, the appropriate image, countenance, however you'd like to describe it, behaviours, in order to maximise the prospects of the achievement of the prime aims, notably fuel and control. The range of compartments that exist varies dependent upon the type of narcissist, and in general terms, the lesser narcissists have fewer compartments available to them, fewer faces that they can demonstrate. The greater and the ultra have the most. It ranges somewhere in between. And so we compartmentalise in each moment to portray particular face, characteristics and behaviours, and then they can be completely different in the next moment, because that is how the narcissism requires it to be in order to achieve those prime aims. So let me give you an example. Let us take a lower mid-range narcissist, and he's in a relationship with Louise. Louise has had enough. She's had enough of the mild physical violence, the tantrums, the suspected cheating, the put-downs, the lack of support and help around the house, and she's told him that the relationship is over. This, of course, threatens his control by the provision of challenge fuel. And therefore the narcissism, if it had a voice, says, the intimate partner primary source is looking to leave our control. This is a huge problem. We must now cause this narcissist, remember, he's an unaware, lower mid-range narcissist, we must now cause this narcissist to respond by asserting control over her directly using a preventative hoover. And the narcissism selects from the array of manipulations pity play. And thus, the lower mid-ranger squeezes out a few tears. Please don't leave me. I won't be able to survive without you. I don't know what to do if you're not in my world. Please, Louise, don't go. Unfortunately, she's seen this too many times before, and bolstered by reading the works of one H.G. Tudor, Louise departs, gets in the car, and drives off. At that juncture, the lower mid-range narcissist still has a threat to control. Louise has gone. He cannot assert control over her directly. She's not there. He tries an alternative direct route by ringing her, but the phone is switched off. He leaves her an unpleasant, threatening voicemail. You better get your backside back here after everything I've done for you, or I'm going to go and tell your mum and dad what an absolute whore you are. But there's no response. And whilst he may gain a small dollop of thought fuel from imagining her reaction should she listen to the voicemail, he still does not have control over her. Therefore, his narcissism has caused him, in the first instance, to compartmentalise by demonstrating pity play, then move to the issuing of aggressive threat. But neither have been successful in bringing Louise under control. The narcissism cannot rest there. It cannot open a bag of Doritos and decide to watch The Handmaid's Tale and think, well, so what, we didn't get control, bugger it. That isn't an option. The first law of narcissism applies. All appliances must be brought under control and kept under control at all times. The first assertion of control, the direct assertion of control, failed and is no longer available. Louise is nowhere to be found and she can't be contacted electronically. Accordingly, the narcissism then shifts to causing this narcissist to telephone his mother and causes him to dole out, because he's a mid-range narcissist, a pity play. Mum, Louise has left me. I can't believe that the bitch has gone and done this. Aggressive pity play, he is lower mid-range. She's left me and gone off. I've tried to get her to stay, but she wouldn't even listen to me. After everything that I've done for her, Mum, and she treats me like this. I can't believe it. And he squeezes out a few more tears. Mum, suitably taken in, believing that her son could never do any wrong, falls for this manipulation. And she responds, There, Mummy's little soldier, why don't you come down? Come round and I'll make you some nice alphabeti spaghetti on toast, and then you can tell me all about it and how horrible this Louise is, and we'll sort it out. Don't you worry, she doesn't know what she's lost. Mummy, of course, demonstrates that she's under control, so she, as a non-intimate secondary source, signals through her response she's under control. That appliance isn't a problem. She's also given him some fuel, which helps with the wounding that he experienced from not being able to get through to Louise on the telephone. Furthermore, the fact that Mummy agrees that Louise is horrible and nasty and that his son needs to be supported, and therefore she will carry out the kind gesture of making him some alphabeti spaghetti on toast, allows the narcissist in his unconscious to feel that control has been asserted over Louise. Problem has been solved. So the loss of control occasioned by Louise ending the relationship and the subsequent maintenance of that loss of control because she drove off and wouldn't answer her phone has now been remedied through the indirect assertion of control over Louise, through the smearing of her, in effect, to the mother. The narcissist presented as upset. So his compartmentalization was pity play and upset to Louise, aggressive threat to Louise, then back to pity play, but this time to his mother. Mr. Narcissist leaves the house to walk around the corner to go and see Mummy and the alphabeti spaghetti. And en route, he bumps into his best pal, Gordon, who's strolling along. Gordon says, Hey, how's it going? What's happening with you and Louise at the moment? Bing, Louise is back on the radar. The narcissism asks, Is Louise under control? No, she's not. She's not here. In fact, we are now reminded that she left. The narcissist has lost control of her again. It was regained temporarily by the indirect method of assertion of control, and then she disappeared off the radar. Therefore, the issues of control didn't come to play in the narcissist's mind. But because Gordon has made mention of the now former intimate partner primary source to the narcissist, she's back on the radar. At this juncture, the narcissism, of course, needs to assert control over both Louise and Gordon. It can't assert control directly over Louise, she's not there, and the electronic method of communication didn't work last time, and it would be a little bit strange for the narcissist to suddenly ring Louise whilst Gordon's trying to talk to the narcissist. So a direct assertion of control can't be selected by the narcissism at this juncture. The narcissism can cause the narcissist to assert control directly over Gordon and indirectly over Louise. How might it do so? Will it select a pity play? Will he start bawling his eyes out in front of Gordon? No, because the narcissism recognises that doing so would in effect cause the narcissist to lose face in front of his best pal and be seen as something of a pussy. And therefore, opting with the compartmentalisation, this time the narcissist says, that bitch, I've just binned her, kicked her out. As I've told you before, mate, she's an absolute nutcase, high maintenance. I'd had enough of her, so I told her to pack her bags and fuck out of town. So I'm just on my way round now to my mum's, going to have something to eat, so do you fancy a beer later on to celebrate kicking her out of my life? Although this may seem staggering to you that the individual was one moment crying his eyes out over the loss of Louise in front of her and then doing so to his mother, This is a compartmentalization in action. The narcissism doesn't choose a pity play because it's unlikely to work, and as a lower mid-ranger, the narcissism has evolved to a sufficient degree to have that level of accuracy. And therefore, instead what it does is, it selects the most appropriate manipulation to dole out as against Gordon to A, keep him under control, and B, assert control over Louise. So she's smeared. And Gordon's response is to say, good for you, mate. She was always a bit of a nut job. Complete high maintenance head case she is. You're better off out of it. Gordon's response demonstrates that he's under control, and he's also provided some fuel. The fact that he also agrees that Louise is a nut job, a head case, and a psycho enables again the narcissist in his unconscious feel that he has control over her through the indirect, the second assertion of control. Problem solved. Fuel obtained. Appliances under control, which includes Gordon and includes Louise. The narcissist continues on his journey. He now arrives at his mother's. She's waiting on the doorstep for him. The first thing that he does is again dole out the pity play. Mum, I can't believe that she's gone. We were so happy together. I've been doing so much for her recently. And again, the mother responds, I know, son. Some women, they're just so selfish. Again, that enables the assertion of control over mother. She demonstrates that she remains under control because she is supportive and sympathetic, and it allows control to be asserted over Louise because she once again came upon the radar. And therefore, in a few short minutes, the narcissist has gone from pity play to Louise, aggressive threat to Louise, pity play towards mother, dismissive, haughty arrogance towards friend, back to pity play. Different faces shown to different people at different times. In each instance, the narcissist does not stand there because he's unaware and think, I know I'm putting a brave face on this in front of Gordon, but inside I'm crying my eyes out. That doesn't happen because he has no awareness. The narcissism causes him to put on that bravado in that instant, and then several minutes later allows him to shift to pity play, and because of the way that it edits the history, doesn't allow him to make a link between the two and think, goodness me, what a self-serving hypocrite I am, playing it the big one in front of Gordon, whilst not long before I was crying like a little boy to my girlfriend and down the telephone to my mother. What a pussy-whipped individual I am. Not at all. The narcissism won't let that happen because that would adversely affect control. And that, listeners, is just one example of the way that compartmentalization works. I appreciate it may seem extraordinary to you, but remember, you're different to us. Unaware narcissists compartmentalize in that manner. And that's why, for instance, that the narcissist could have a blazing row with you and then reappear half an hour later after storming out and act like nothing has happened, because what has happened in the past is in the past and only serves a purpose if it is to be dragged up to serve a purpose in the present. Otherwise, it's done and dusted, and it is quite literally forgotten about. It's gone off the edge of the cliff, and it would only be remembered if A, the narcissism requires it to be done, or you bring it back on the table, and therefore the narcissist would respond to the fact of you raising the issue about the argument. This compartmentalization is a fundamental part of ensuring that we are able to achieve the prime aims, and it is important that you understand that this is part of the way that we operate. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.